The core theme of the story is the sacrifices of parents, the pain of feeling like a burden to grown children, the enduring love of a long marriage, and the value of true family bonds versus selfishness. The Gardener. Word count approximately 5,000 words. In the quiet suburbs of Maplewood, New Jersey, Robert R.O.B. Thompson lived a life many envied. At 62, he had just retired after 38 years as a senior manager at a major bank in New York City. His wife of 40 years, Patricia "Pat" Thompson, 57, had been his anchor through every storm. They had raised 4 sons together in a modest but loving home filled with laughter, late-night talks, and the scent of Pat's homemade apple pie. Rob and Pat's house was more than bricks and mortar. It was a garden of memories. Rob had always loved tending their backyard garden. He planted roses for Pat on their anniversaries, tomatoes for summer salads, and marigolds because they reminded him of his mother's kitchen windowsill back in Ohio. "A garden doesn't ask for much," he'd say, "just time, care, and patience. In return, it gives you beauty and shade when you need it most." Their sons, once small boys running through sprinklers, were now grown men with lives of their own. The eldest, Andy, 38, was a corporate lawyer in Boston, married to Karen with 2 kids. He had always been the responsible one, the straight-A student Rob had tutored late into the night. Next came Steve, 36, a successful software engineer in Seattle, married to Lisa with a toddler daughter. Steve had been the dreamer, the one who sketched robots as a kid, while Rob patiently explained physics over dinner. Then Mike, 34, a real estate agent in Chicago, married to Rachel, no kids yet. Mike had been the athlete, the one whose baseball games Rob never missed, rain or shine. The youngest, Chris, 32, lived in Los Angeles, working in marketing, still single but dating a nice girl named Emily. Chris had been the artist, filling sketchbooks with drawings that Rob framed proudly. Rob and Pat had sacrificed everything for them. Rob worked double shifts so the boys could have music lessons, braces, college funds. Pat gave up her own dreams of teaching art to raise them, volunteering at schools, baking for fundraisers, cheering at every game. On Rob's retirement day, the family gathered at the house for a big barbecue. The backyard was strung with lights, the grill smoked, and laughter echoed. The sons presented Rob with a card signed by everyone. "Thanks for everything, Dad. Now it's our turn to take care of you." Rob's eyes misted. He believed them. A few weeks later, reality set in. The bank pension and savings were decent, but not enough for 2 households. The old house needed repairs. The roof leaked, the furnace was ancient. Rob suggested they sell it and move in with one of the sons. "We don't need much space," he said. "Just a room, some time together." The sons exchanged glances over video call. Andy spoke first. "Dad, our place in Boston is small. Karen's parents visit a lot. The kids have activities." Steve jumped in. "Seattle's too far, and Lisa's job has her traveling. Our condo isn't set up for extra people." Mike cleared his throat. "Chicago's expensive. Rachel and I are trying to save for a bigger place." Chris shrugged. "LA's crazy. My apartment is a studio, not really parent-friendly." Pat's hand tightened on Rob's under the table. Then Andy proposed a plan. "What if we rotate? You stay with one couple for 6 months, then switch. Mom with one, Dad with another. That way, no one feels overwhelmed and you 2 aren't separated too long." It sounded reasonable, almost kind. Rob and Pat looked at each other. 40 years of marriage, they had never spent more than a week apart. But they nodded. They didn't want to be a burden. The first 6 months, Rob went to live with Andy in Boston, Pat with Steve in Seattle. In Boston, Rob arrived with 1 suitcase and a box of garden tools. Andy's house was modern, sleek, no yard. "Dad, we have a balcony," Andy said. "You can put a few pots there." Rob tried. He watered the plants, made coffee every morning, offered to help with the kids' homework, but Karen was stressed. Work, kids, PTA meetings. The children were polite but distant. They had tablets and schedules. Rob felt like a guest who had overstayed. One evening, Andy came home late. "Dad, can you keep it down? The kids are asleep." Rob had been humming an old Frank Sinatra tune while washing dishes. Rob stopped humming. In Seattle, Pat faced similar quiet rejection. Steve's condo was minimalist, no room for her sewing machine. Lisa was nice but busy. The toddler was sweet, but Pat's offers to babysit were met with, "We have daycare." Pat spent days alone, staring at the gray sky, missing her kitchen and Rob's laughter. They talked on the phone every night. "It's fine," Pat would say. "They're just busy." But it wasn't fine. After 6 months, the rotation was supposed to continue, Rob to Mike in Chicago, Pat to Chris in LA. Instead, Rob and Pat quietly decided enough was enough. They met in New York City, neutral ground, and rented a small one-bedroom apartment in Queens. It was cramped, but it was theirs. Rob found a part-time job at a local community bank as a consultant. Pat started teaching art classes at a senior center. They gardened on their tiny fire escape, pots of herbs, a single rosebush. One day, walking in a nearby park, Rob met Henry, who owned a small coffee shop called Henry's Haven. Henry was a widower, kind, with a warm smile. He listened as Rob talked about his life. "Write it down," Henry said. "People need to hear stories like yours." Rob laughed it off at first, but late at night, when Pat slept, he started writing. Pages about love, sacrifice, the garden as a metaphor for family. He called it The Gardener. Meanwhile, they met a young man named Alex, a college student who worked at Henry's. Alex was studying literature, estranged from his own parents. He and his girlfriend Nina became like surrogate grandchildren. They brought energy, laughter, homemade cookies. Alex read Rob's drafts and encouraged him. Back with the sons, life continued, but guilt simmered. Andy's daughter asked why Grandpa wasn't there for her birthday. Steve noticed Lisa seemed happier when the house was quiet, but emptier. Mike and Rachel argued more. Chris felt the distance. Then came the turning point. Rob finished the manuscript. Henry knew a small publisher. To everyone's surprise, including Rob's, the book was accepted. Titled The Gardener, it told the story of a man who raised 4 trees, watered them with love, only to find they offered no shade in his old age. It wasn't bitter, it was honest, poignant. The dedication read, "To Pat, my forever bloom, and to all parents who plant without expecting the harvest." The book launched quietly but grew. Word of mouth spread. Reviews called it a heartfelt reminder of what family truly means. It hit local bestseller lists in the Northeast. The sons found out when a coworker mentioned it. "Hey, isn't this about your dad?" They read it, and it hurt. The climax came at a book signing in New York. Rob stood at a small podium in a bookstore, Pat by his side. The room was full. Friends, strangers, Alex and Nina, Henry. Rob spoke. "I spent my life believing that if you give everything to your children, time, money, dreams, they'll give back when you need it. I was wrong. Not because they are bad people, but because we never taught them what sacrifice really looks like. We protected them from hardships so well that they never learned to carry it. Parents are the roots of the family tree. We hold the soil, take the storms, go unseen. But without roots, the tree falls. I don't say this to guilt anyone. I say it because I still love my sons. But love doesn't mean accepting neglect. I forgive, but forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to plant new seeds, ones that grow with mutual care. To my boys, if you ever want shade, come sit. The garden is still here, but don't expect me to water you anymore unless you water me too." The room was silent. Then applause. The sons were there, standing in the back, faces pale. They approached afterward. Andy spoke first. "Dad, Mom, we're sorry. We didn't realize." Rob looked at them calmly. "Words are easy. Actions matter." Pat added softly, "We love you, but we won't live half-lives anymore." The sons begged for another chance. Rob and Pat listened but didn't move back in. Instead, they invited them over for dinner, for holidays, on equal terms. Slowly, things changed. Andy started visiting more, bringing the grandkids to help in the tiny garden. Steve flew in with his family, and the toddler played in the pots. Mike and Rachel planted a tree in their yard in honor of Rob and Pat. Chris wrote a song about roots and shared it online. It wasn't perfect, scars remained, but the garden grew again, not out of obligation, but choice. Years later, Rob and Pat sat on their balcony watching the rose bloom. Alex and Nina visited often, now married with a baby. Henry came for coffee. Rob turned to Pat. "We planted well, didn't we?" She smiled, taking his hand. "We did, and the best part, we still get to enjoy the flowers." In the end, the gardener didn't need the trees to survive. He had learned to thrive in his own soil, with love, dignity, and a little help from unexpected friends. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Sam for more heartfelt tales.